So this is an introduction of sorts about my next video segment talking about how to mark the water line. But what I really meant talking in this little video segment is I wasn't really talking about the water line. I'm actually talking about where the edge of the fiberglass is going to go, because I plan on fiberglassing the bottom of the boat and up the sides up into a little actually above the water line. So when I was marking with my laser and making tick marks and things, that's actually marking how far the fiberglass is going to go up the side of the boat. I expect the water line actually to be a little bit below that, or actually above it, since the boat is flipped over. So in this video segment coming up, when I'm talking through how I marked that water line, just translate the word water line to actually the edge of the bottom fiberglass. Another thing that I wanted to mention about this next video segment coming up about marking the water line, which is actually marking the edge of the fiberglass, I forgot to mention why I have this back starting point like 6 3/4 inches below the bottom. And the reason I did that is because the plans, the actual water line in the plans, I think ends up being roughly 4.5 inches or so from this bottom edge. And the reason I added some is because I wanted the fiberglass to be above the water line actually a little bit when the boat's fully loaded. And based on some posts and things I've read, the boat actually will sink down a little bit, up to maybe 2 inches or something like that. So I wanted to have some margin in there. So I started roughly in that 4.5 inch mark, and I'm like, well, I want to add at least 2 inches, and I went a little over that. So that's why this tick mark on the back for measuring the edge of my fiberglass is at 6 3/4 inches. And remember, again, in this video segment coming up about marking the water line, it's actually marking the edge of the fiberglass. So don't forget to translate the word water line to actually edge of where that fiberglass goes up the side of the boat. In this case, of course, since it's flipped, it's down the side of the boat, but it goes from the side and then down to this edge. So let's talk about marking the water line. So on the Monaco, it calls for the water line to start. It talks about the boot top. And so that's basically the edge of the water line. And it gives you dimension at frame 0, which is the transom. And then it gives you a dimension at frame 8, which is 1 inch, basically lower. And so the way to get that, which means I say lower with the boat being upside down. And so what you do is you pick your mark back here, at least what I did, and how to get the 1 inch lower part is I had my starting reference mark here. I knew how far down I wanted it from this edge, which is actually farther than what the plans call for. So I actually did, I think 6 3/4 is actually what I did. And so I have that reference mark there, and then with the laser in level mode, and then I came up here, and then I marked where that mark is here. Right now it's not set exactly right. And then what I did is marked an inch below here, and I actually went 1.5 inches because I've heard these boats, they ride a little lower in the front, so I wanted to compensate for that. So I marked 1.5 inches lower here, and then I used my laser level, and I lowered this down that 1.5 inches this way. Oops, okay, it's not wanting to stay, but anyway, marked it 1.5 inches lower, and then came up here, and then made a tick mark where that 1.5 inches lower is here, because you don't want 1.5 inches lower measuring on the boat, because that's at an angle. You want actually from vertical, 1.5 inches, or inch down, or 1.5 inches down. And so that is how I did that. So this gives me the reference mark up front, which is 1.5 inches below my starting point in the back. And then I took my laser and put it in basically this one, and you'll need one that does this. It can actually lock the line so it's not an auto level mode anymore. And then I set it so the back mark is on where it's supposed to be in the back, and then I tilted the laser just a little bit so it lined up with the lower mark in front, and then that becomes the water line that gets marked. And so hopefully that helps you understand at least what I did. I think that's the way it's done, because on a Monaco the water line is not actually parallel to the motor stringers, and the motor stringers are relative to, I guess, the earth right now. So you just can't use your laser level in level mode, auto level mode. That is not the water line. If you do that, it definitely will ride more bow down in front, float with the bow down in front relative to your water line. So that is how I did it. And then what I did is, once I had it, again, the laser in non-auto level mode, I had it in kind of fixed mode and had the tick mark in back, tick mark in front, and then I just took my pencil and every 6 inches or so made a gentle light line on there, and that becomes my water line. And so then I'll try to do that on the other side, and that should be it for the water line.